You must admit that Western propaganda is the best propaganda in humanity history. They don't make you know 1970 in Kent State, 1985 Philadelphia. We don't know about this dark history of Western countries. But you guys all know China's?
There is no doubt that both the United States and Chinese governments have engaged in massive propaganda campaigns throughout the years. But a big difference between the two nations is that in the United States, I can find hundreds of books that criticize government abuses of power, but in China, it is difficult to do the same. In 1989, a book titled White Snow, Red Blood was published by Zhang Zhenglong, a colonel in the Chinese People's Liberation Army. This book described the massacre that happened in the city of Changchun during the Chinese Civil War as the communists, led by Mao Zedong, were driving out the nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek. The nationalist army occupied Changchun while the communist soldiers, led by Lin Biao, laid siege to the city in 1948 to starve out the nationalists. Hundreds of thousands of civilians were caught between these two factions, and those trying to flee the city of Changchun to avoid starvation were prevented from passing the communist blockade. Frank Dikotter estimates that more than 160,000 civilians starved to death in the 5-month siege of Changchun in 1948. Dikotter writes that after liberation, the communist troops buried many of the bodies in mass graves without so much as a tombstone. After decades of propaganda about the peaceful liberation of China, few people remember the victims of the Communist Party's rise to power. I asked a Chinese friend if they had heard about this event, and they said they had never heard of it and it must be a lie by Western propagandists. Unfortunately, Zhang Zhenglong's book describing the siege was banned in mainland China, and I'm not aware of any English translations that exist.